was the start of me, the start of my coaching career, and where I help people. Then, and at one point, I was a director of a conscious sexuality organization in London. We brought their first coaching program to London, the first in-house intensive, which was absolutely beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. But then my sister got ill. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and basically died 7 or 8 months later. So the last 3 months of her life I spent with her and with her family. She's got twins as well. And I'm really helping her. And then through that, I remembered, every time it was like the next step. So through coaching, through, remembering my rape, I started remembering that I had a near-death experience when I was almost 2 years old. My brother fished me out of the moat. I talked about it with my sister. Then somehow sacred plant medicine came on my way. That opened up the way of what it's like to have a near-death experience again, which I then talked to my sister about. And then the day that she died, she said, "Can I go to the light?" Because I described it, for me, it was going through a tunnel, going up to the light. And I must say that really impacted me and my sister, because we had so many plans together. We were going to do things together. And I was actually, of course, heartbroken by it. But there were also a lot of other emotions that you usually don't talk about. That I was angry that, that all the plans we had, were no longer there. I was sad for her kids. Then my parents got really ill, or I think actually by having your daughter die, they turned inwards, and within a year, my father passed away. And then 6 months later, my mom committed euthanasia. So the last 3 years have been, really being there for them while they pass over.
This was just in the last 3 years that your parents passed?
And my sister, yeah.
And your sister, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a lot lately.
Yeah. Well, you hold a lot of strength. That's what I see in you. I'm amazed and honored to be connecting with you more and hearing more of your story and hearing more what's going on for you, because you still hold so much strength as you go through all that.
Thank you.
What do you feel like is the main thing, or a couple of the main things that's helped you grieve in as healthy of a way as you can? Or is even that the right terminology for it? How do you talk about that? How would you share insight with someone else of how to grieve the loss of your sister, the loss of your parents, all of that in such a short amount of time?
It's interesting, right? I mean, grief is something that's talked about, but it's, but you also get such advice from people. You're like, oh, time will pass and everything will be fine. And it's like, actually, I think you can do a whole, book. I mean, there's obviously lots of books on it, but there's so much, there's not enough out there to actually let people grieve. And what I learned is that I just now wear my emotions on my sleeve. So I met my partner probably a month or 3 weeks after I lost my sister. So he's been through with me through all of this. And what I've learned is actually to express that pain and the grief and the emotions and the laughter, and to be joyous in one moment and then, snot flying and tears and everything. And for my friends and for my family, it's been really interesting to watch it. I think it hasn't always been comfortable for them, but at the same time, I've been really expressive about it and I haven't held it in. And I must say, I think grief has been my biggest teacher up to now. It's where, so often we numb ourselves. We numb ourselves by eating, by drinking, by shopping, by whatever, whatever we do in a way not to feel. as I started peeling away my layers, more and more I felt. So that meant the grief as well. And actually, there can be some real beauty in remembering things and actually going through them. And I like what the accelerated evolution with some of those processes that we do. It's like to really feel it, to experience it, to have the images, the thoughts, the body sensations, and all the emotions that come with them. And then to realize that you don't have to be stuck there, that it's a moment. An emotion often is only lasts about 90 seconds, and then you're through it. But what most people do is we push it away in the hope that it will go away or that by time it will be fine, and not go through it.
Yeah. I've been talking to people about not specifically grief, but that thing exactly is the way to free yourself from something you're struggling with is not get away from it, it's going through it.
Yeah,
And I've been
absolutely.
talking to a number of my clients about that. And it sounds like that's what you're saying about the grieving process is you need to let yourself have the grieving process. You need to
Yeah,
honor the full um, the full spectrum of that grieving process and really let yourself feel it all. And of course,
absolutely.
be supported in that. Who is your support, right? Your family, your friends. So
Yeah, I think really what helped was being part of this, master coaches and the trainers and accelerated evolution. I have a few other groups. It's really having your tribe around you. Obviously, I have my 4 kids, my ex-husband, my partner. We all, we're all very close, and they
yeah,
helped me through it. But for them, it was also weird seeing their mother, their partner go through this. And it's like, how do I support someone like that? And it's to have really honest conversations about it and to just say, hey, I need you to do this and this for me. Or I used to pre-frame things, especially when I was in it. People would say, how are you? I'm like, actually, I'm good, but I'll laugh at one point, but I might just, turn out crying in 1 second. And it's not that anything's wrong with me. It's this process that I'm going through. And I just want you to know. But at first I needed to kind of like pre-frame it to people that I didn't know, because they'll see me like laughing and then all of a sudden, you know?
wow. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And there's two other pieces I want to go back to in what you shared in your story too, because that's, I think, grief and then what you talked about what was happening to you energetically, where it sounded like you were just so drained that you were fainting every day. You couldn't do much at all. You're in and out of the hospital.
Yeah.
And then also with that experience of being sexually assaulted in that date rape, these are sort of three pivotal things that happen for a lot of people in life, and they're just so challenging to navigate. So you kind of spoke on that grief, how to experience how one some information someone can take in, right? We don't want to keep advising people on grief, but that's some information you can take in on how to have a relationship to your grief.
Mhm.
And then that's amazing what you shared of you came to that place within yourself being so depleted and doctors not having the answers for you. And you said going inward was what helped you transform. And obviously now you're an incredibly vibrant person, even with all the things that you manage, your business that you're working on, everything that's going on in the world. You remain a vibrant, focused, emotionally open person. Whereas before, when you were younger, you came to this place of being totally depleted, right? So what are the key things that helped you change and transform to out of that depletion and more back into vitality?
Great. It is. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. For me, it was really, I think the last, God, 10 years has been a real journey in learning to love myself. And, we talk about self love and self acceptance and self forgiveness, but it's a real journey. You know, people always say, oh, yeah, just love yourself. You just love yourself however you are. And we have all these imprints from society that, you should be a certain way, you should do this and that. So it's there's a lot that's expected of us, or we think that's expected of us. So for me, what was really really pivotal is asking for when I needed help. I've never been good at asking for help, and over the years I've learned to actually ask for help. And it might be as little as sitting down and asking someone for a glass of water. We women also have a weird way of communicating. We don't always ask exactly for what we want, but we say, "Oh, I'm thirsty," and actually, what that means, translating for a man, is like, "Will you get me a glass of water?" But also for you to read our mind, it's like, "And I want it in that exact glass that I want, with 2 cubes of ice and maybe a sprig of mint." Yeah, but we don't ask for that. So for me, that was pivotal. Really asking exactly what I wanted, and to focus into the minutia, like I was saying. Like, I like my glasses thin rimmed, and my water is room temperature. So I'm really precise now. And at first you think, oh, that's really finicky and that's so high maintenance. And we've all been told that, women shouldn't be high maintenance. It's not good. But actually, once you start knowing what you want and what you like in life, it's so much easier to then communicate that to your partner, to your loved ones, to your children, to everyone. And then all of a sudden, life just brings you what you want. If you constantly focus on what you don't want, or it's like, oh yeah, no, everything is fine, then you just get something fine. But if you actually really communicate what you want perfectly, then that's what you get. So that was definitely, voicing my desires. And the other one is no. When do I know that it's a no? When am I doing things that are actually I don't want to do, but I'm doing it because of habit, I'm doing it because I want to please someone else? But where in my body, how do I feel a no in my body? What does it feel like? And for me, that's tightness in my chest. And I have like this tube that just tightens up like that. So for years, people would say, can I, do you want to do this? And I'll be like, yes, but I can't say yes because actually it's a no. And it's becoming mindful of it. It's like, oh, yeah. Okay, I've just said yes, and I don't want to do this. So really knowing where your yes and where your no are. Those are. I mean, one of the starting points that I use with clients is yes and no, and boundaries. Really knowing, like, oh, why am I allowing certain things that I actually don't like? And so that those were the tipping points that really started changing my life.
Right. And that's awesome. And it's not some complicated medical diagnosis, right? That probably doctors are trying to come up with. Why is this fatigue happening? Why is this fainting happen? What's the medical diagnosis?
It's much more that where am I doing things that that actually don't serve me, that my body, that my mind, that everything, just my whole being doesn't want to do it, and yet I'm doing it because I'm so used to doing it. So it was a bit of a change also for my kids, I must say.